from the US is working closely with Rodriguez, particularly on the oil sector. Now we start this hour with Europe. Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Stoere has said that all ties between prominent Norwegian and late US sex offender Jeffrey Epstein must be fully investigated. Stoere has said voters are shocked by a flood of new documents revealing extensive contact between Epstein and the diplomats, politicians and royalty, even as all deny any involvement in his crimes. In his strongest comments yet, Stoere has said the case exposes how powerful people moved in secret walls while victims paid the price, adding that his government will do everything possible to clarify the truth. Norway's parliament has ordered a rare inquiry into foreign ministry links. Police have searched the home of former Prime Minister and the Crown Princess, who has apologized for her past friendship with Epstein. Elsewhere, U.S. House Oversight Committee has urged former British Ambassador to the United States, Lord Peter Mandelson, to answer questions in its probe into the full Epstein files. Two Democratic lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee say it is clear Mandelson had extensive social and business ties to Epstein and holds critical information about his operations. They are asking him to sit for a transcribed interview by February 27th. The committee cannot compel his appearance, but say they are seeking his cooperation to identify Epstein's co-conspirators and enablers. While Mandelson has previously expressed regret over his association with Epstein and apologized to the victims, while denying any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, UK police have launched a criminal investigation into the claims he shared market-sensitive information, keeping pressure firmly on one of Britain's most senior political figures. Now we welcome. In the Middle East, the head of global ports operator and logistics giant DP World, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, has stepped down amid intensifying pressure over his links to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Bin Sulayem has resigned as chairman and chief executive, effective immediately after newly released files showed he appeared to have exchanged hundreds of emails with Epstein over more than a decade. There is no allegation of criminal wrongdoing against Sulayem for now, DP World says. Essa Kazem will serve as chairman with Yuvraj Narayan appointed as chief executive. The company, which operates ports across 6 continents, has faced growing scrutiny from partners and investors. Now for this, we welcome Ms. Shruti Das Gupta. She's an international relations expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ms. Das Gupta, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, first looking at Dubai, how significant is that this Dubai's, this person has come under, he's mentioned almost 6,000 times in Jeffrey Epstein files, and what do you think UAE should do or would do to see how farther, there could be many more royal family members or other people who could be in relations with, who could be, maybe more things would come out between them and Epstein.
Well, there's no secret, Asuma, pardon me, that Epstein, despite being very, very deviant in his, some of his dealings, had the pulse of power, and he had his dealings in the economic world, in the financial world, in the political world where policies were built. So him being in touch with people who were looking for favors or wanting particular deals to be pulled off, he was the bridge between those who wanted things and those who had things to give. And in the exchange of powers, there was sometimes exchange of sexual favors, which he was very happy to provide through his divine network. Now, this entire filthy thing doesn't always have to have sexual connotations. It's just probably an exchange of favors between parties and him being the mediator. But because of his sexual misconduct and his conviction as a sex trafficker, as a person who was convicted of minor having sexual relations with minors and prostitution and all of the other charges that are there against him, that puts him in the moral, not just gray zone, black zone. So anybody who is willing to deal with him all automatically landed in the gray zone, that they were okay with his particular characteristics, his side businesses, his side interests, as long as he was able to facilitate their deals. Now that puts all these people, not just the Saudis and the Dubai people and the others, even the ones in UK, the European Union, the people in USA, anybody who was able to tap into his network was guilty by association. Whether they traded with him or not is a different question. For Mandelson, he had taken kickbacks. There is a trail of money also coming through. So that is a different level of involvement with Epstein. But people who are willing to just trade off in terms of influence with him also had to bear the stain of his particular crimes as well. Now that puts the entire world's, almost, if I might say so, except for the dictators in North Korea and China, I believe. Except for those,
Yes.
everybody else has been named and shamed in these files. So that means that this man was pretty prominent, and the people in power are very tainted. And whether we like to admit it or not, politics is a dirty business, and sometimes people have to walk these gray lines without actually actively participating in them. So people who took kickbacks, this is not an isolated incident. People who tapped into his power are not isolated. But unfortunately, there are only a few governments who are willing to actually look into it, that whether it was just tapping into his influence or something more. And while the EU and the UK are making sure people at least associated with Epstein leave their places in power, USA has been found very reluctant to do so.
Right, and as you mentioned, lots of gray zone in political sphere. So how might this expanding investigation in Norway, the US, UK, how do you think this will be? Do you think this will be effective? Because of course we know it's not going to be easy to bring these people to the light, to hold them accountable, to get them to say the things they know about Epstein, or the things they saw or they knew about him.
Well, whether you get them to spill the beans or not, there is plenty of redacted material already that are hiding a whole lot of people who perpetrated these crimes. There are people who used the now identified code words, but their emails are not available to public. Their names are blocked from public. So people who actually committed those crimes, who are still in power, are still useful to people in power. They are being protected. So there is a wall of redaction that is protecting the perpetrators themselves. The victims are hoping for conviction, but I doubt it will come through at least the regular means. Maybe social justice might be given to them, as in people who have been named and shamed would be looked down upon by the society. But I don't think other forms of justice are going to come through, because this is not a new case. He died almost 6-7 years back, and the associations are beyond that. So these are not new things. The people who have had time to cover up their associations, clean out their records, and any hope of actual justice, with the time that it goes on and the time that the legal system takes to actually clear out the cobwebs and find the actual truth, is going to be too late for actual justice to be delivered.
With that, I'd like to thank Ms. Dasgupta for sharing that insight with us. Thank you very much. Now we move on to US